Hello and welcome to another Fusion 360 tutorial. This one is in Chapter 4, Tutorial 2 of CADArtifex's Autodesk Fusion 360 Power Guide for Beginners and Intermediate Users. I'm going to walk through the tutorial. So it looks like this. We have this kind of revolved shape. It looks like a V-belt pulley. And it just kind of shows 3/4 of the shape, probably just sort of a cutout so you can see what the inner part looks like. That's just for reference. We're not getting into the actual 3D shape until next chapter. So we have this shape that is has two types of symmetry. One, we have a vertical symmetry where we can define like half the shape and then reflect it down below, or down below and then above. And then another is that later this shape, the cross section that we make, would be revolved around the central axis. So to do that, we'll go ahead and draw in the axis, although we won't do the revolving. That's saved for a future chapter. So Chapter 4 is all about constraints and dimensions, so we will, I'll show you how to do the dimensions and constraints so that everything is fully defined, and then it's ready for that next step of revolving and turning into a 3D shape. So I'm going to try and follow along pretty closely with the book steps just to make sure that I do it in a logical, easy way. So jumping into Fusion 360. I'm going to save my file, make sure it's in Chapter 4, Tutorial 2, CH4, TU2. Okay. All right, now with that saved, I'll close that menu and get started. So I'm going to create a sketch, and there isn't like one right plane to do this. I could either do this front plane or the side plane. Basically, the 3D shape is going to revolve around the blue axis, but it makes most sense, and I usually like doing the front plane, so I'm going to do that one. So getting started here, we're going to create a couple lines. We're going to make a vertical one, and we're going to make a horizontal one. And those two lines, you could define them as either construction, or I prefer to define them as a center line. When you do a center line, it automatically assumes that like this is an axis of rotation or symmetry or something where something's going to be reflected, so that when you put in dimensions, it automatically does like the whole distance, the entire distance, instead of just the distance from the object to the line, which will maybe make more sense as I get into it. So getting started now, I'm going to point somewhere on this line. I'm not going to get too caught up in dimensions at first, except that this first one should be just over 20-ish. 22.5 is what the book says, but we're going to add dimensions later. If you're way off on the scale, I actually started to try to do this, and then I was making a shape that was like way bigger because I wasn't paying attention to the dimensions at all. And if you're way off, then it gets weird when you try and rescale everything. So it's nice to be in the ballpark. So a little over 22 for this shape. Go over 7.5, it says. Okay. And I'm not going to get too caught up on the dimensions. I just want to make it look sort of like the image. So then I come down, I come over, come down again, come up at an angle, somewhere around 60 degrees and 30 long, somewhere in there. And now here, we need to go up, over, down, down here, and then straight down to the center line. Okay. So a few things about this. One, we can add in dimensions now or after we reflect it. I might add in a few constraints. Like for one, these lines they're funky looking. I should probably make them parallel. So I'm gonna hit escape and hit the parallel constraint up here and select those two lines, make them parallel. I could also start adding in some dimensions. And here's what I mean about the center line. If I go to add in this dimension here to the center line, it's going to do the entire dimension as if it was already reflected, which is kind of a handy thing. So that is going to be, let's see, 45 millimeters. So I can type 45 and hit enter. Now the book shows doing the dimensions after, so I'm going to do the rest of them after, but I just wanted to show that cool fact. So I'm going to double click on one of these lines. It's going to select everything that's attached to that. And I'm going to grab them or hit the mirror command up here. And then over here I have to select the select thing next to mirror line. Select my mirror lines, this horizontal one, and hit OK. So you can see how that reflected everything down. That's pretty cool. So now I can go ahead and start putting in the rest of my dimensions. So I know that this dimension is 10. This dimension is 25. We could actually either dimension the top or the bottom, either one, since they're in pairs, like since they're reflected, they have all these symmetry constraints. If I dimension one, it'll automatically update the other. So like if I was to go to dimension this one now, it would call it a driven constraint because it's already defined up above, and this one is a mirror relationship to the one up here. So it can't change that without affecting this one. So that's why you can kind of just put in dimensions either above or below. I'm going to put them just where the picture shows. So 4, this is 4, this is 8. We ended up with something weird here. This needs to be back like this. So this distance is 5. Here I needed to go point to point. Okay, 5. This distance is 40. And I could either do this distance or I could do the distance from this to the center line. Oh, this to the center line. And it would come up with the same thing because it does the reflected different distance, like the entire distance, if that makes sense. 40, I know that this is 6. And what else? We know some distances horizontally now too. And now the horizontal distances you see are these like entire distances. And so they're also showing the entire distance over the center line. And that's where you really kind of want this to be a center line. It's the easiest way to get it to be added. So if we start dimensioning these, I can go from here to here, and then that does the entire distance. That should be 30. And then keep adding in all the others. So that's 30. Actually, I did the wrong one. This one's 45. This one's 30. This one's 58. This one's 128. And this one's 138. And now everything is all black. So I'll double check that I got all my measurements. Some of them are a little bit hard to see, so I might drag them where I can see them better. 48, 4, 25, 4, 45, 10, yep, 30, 45, 58. Just tidy these up a little bit. Just because it looks nice. And then that's it. So if I was to finish this, I can show you the next step, even though this is all we need to do for this assignment. But if I was to jump ahead and try and make it a 3D shape, I could use this revolve command. And I can select both halves of this and then select my axis. And just select that axis, and you can see how it revolves there. And if I wanted to make it not entirely all the way around, do it just like the picture has, I would do 270 degrees. And then I'm left with this shape, just like they had in the image here. So that's pretty cool, but that's not part of the assignment. So I'm just going to leave it, hit undo and leave it back here at the sketch. The sketch was all we needed. So I'm going to hit save, and I'm done. Thanks for watching.